All right, currently reporting to you guys from the Lodge, which is one of these buildings back here. Another popular card room here in the Austin, Texas area. And the reason I'm here tonight is, in case you missed my last video, I'll be playing on my first ever live stream. The game is gonna be 5-5, no limit, with an uncapped buy-in, meaning you can buy in for whatever you want. And like many other things in Texas, I expect it to be probably bigger than expected, but that's quite all right. As you guys know, I like a good time at the poker table. Now, it's currently around 6 p.m. What I could have done today is maybe go back and watch some of the older live streams that they have updated on their YouTube page. Maybe studied a little bit of that and see if I could figure out some patterns from my opposition, but frankly, just sounded pretty damn boring. So instead, I watched 3 episodes of The Office back at the hotel room. And I gotta say, no matter what happens tonight, I do not regret that. It's my last night in Texas. Every other day, the weather's been beautiful, nice and sunny. Today, a little bit darker. Hopefully it's not a sign of things to come. But anyway, let's get inside and play some cards. All right, what is going on, everyone? Finally playing on a live stream for the first time. And before we get started, I think it's worth noting that even though the game was advertised as 5-5, it was pretty much 5-5-10, if not 5-5-10-20 for the entire night. As you can see here, in the very first hand dealt of the night, there were 5 straddles out there. Kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. This is not your typical 5-5 game by any means.
What is going on? 5-5 uncapped monster game, and first hand off the bat, quadruple straddle the 160. No big deal.
160, we've got a special guest. I'll tell you about Mariano in seat 9. He is the poker vlogger extraordinaire. Catch him on the YouTube land. He does fantastic work, does really cinematic vlogs. He's in seat 9. And Mikey, go around.
So in the first interesting hand of the night, action folds all the way to the hijack, who opens to $30. And then it gets to me in the small blind, looking down at pocket aces. A very warm welcome to my first ever live stream. Obviously going to be going for a raise here and just crossing my fingers that my opponent doesn't fold.
Back over to Rami. Well, let's call him Rami. He's going to raise it up, and he says, have no fear, I'm going to make it 380.
And as you can see, after thinking it over for a bit, he doesn't fold. And he doesn't call either. He actually puts in yet another raise. And even though it's fine to flat call in this situation, there's plenty of money left behind, and we're also out of position. So I'm going to put in yet another raise.
See how we adjust. Naturally, maybe a little nervous off the start here, and also not familiar with our sensors. So we'll get on him on that here shortly, I'd imagine here. So we're just going to have a little mystery hand off the jump. And he's not going anywhere. Early position, small blind, raising it up early, and that's probably going to do it for Rami. I don't see Rami continuing here. We shall see. He lays it down. So Rami is a fan of Mariano. He says he likes watching a lot of his vlogs.
I like him too.
But unfortunately, my opponent was getting a little bit frisky here with the ace-5 suited, so no more action this time. Still a nice way to start off the night. Shortly after that hand, we see a similar situation in which that same player opens to 30, and this time I look down at 6-5 of diamonds in the cutoff. Could mix here between flat calling and going for the raise. Being in the cutoff, it's probably around 50-50. This time I decide to go for the raise, and my opponent makes the call.
Almost not enough tables. We're going to be filling up a game here around. There's going to be a tournament like you mentioned. Plenty of cash games going, all different levels.
Uh-oh. Look at this, Mikey.
Yeah.
Both players have diamond draw.
Yeah.
Mariano with a pair of 6s, though.
Yes, interesting. Rami with his ace and his jack would also do it.
Oh, a diamond here. We're going to see blood.
So we flop middle pair along with a flush draw. When he checks it over to me, I'm just going to continue betting for a small sizing and see where we go from there.
Yep. Pretty strong dude there. Weight room plus poker. It's a nice little recipe for the mind. Rami not going anywhere, reaching for the black chips. Little check raise to 250.
Nothing to do but call in position, I think, and see what happens.
Mariano's not going anywhere. He's got a pair and a flush draw. I'm telling you, Mikey, a diamond hits here. I don't know if we don't see someone getting stacked here.
Let's see. Turn. Oh, just what the
There is the diamond, Mikey.
Uh-oh.
There will be blood. There will be blood.
And speaking of straight flushes, maybe, my God, we got a royal watch here with the queen of diamonds spills. Both players binking this turn. This could be trouble for our visitor from California in the 9th seat.
And the graphics are wrong there because we have a turn. There we go. There is a flush. Both players have hit the flush. And Rami is going to win this hand. It's just a matter of how much he's going to extract from our guest, Mariano. And there's the call. Oh.
And at this point, I think our fate is just sealed. It's just going to be a matter of how much blood will be spilled when it's all said and done.
3 of hearts on the river. Meaningless 3 of hearts. It's just a matter of how much Rami's going to be able to extract. I can't see Mariano getting away from this at all. If not, even he might even check raise. All in and call. Quick call. He sees the bad news. Mariano. Oh.
If you are Camp Rami, you are excited about that. A full double. Not much the man in seat 9 can do with that one.
So these two players have gone back and forth already in this first orbit, Mikey. Flush versus flush. That was a car wreck.
So quite a violent start to the session, you could say. But the night is young, and there's plenty of poker left to be played. In the next one, we see an early position raised to $30. Player on his left makes the call, the small blind makes the call, and I look down at ace-9 in the big blind. Just good enough to defend. Let's see what happens.
It's called, and we're going to go 4 ways. Ace-10, 4, rainbow.
Matty J, 88, going with the little Nate Dog. Warren G, regulators, a classic. Ooh, a little Broadway alert here for E. Got this hand pretty much locked up, and he's going to bet just $50 here. Joe's going to come along. Open-ended. Mariano has an ace. Let's see what he does. Makes the call as well. So we're going to take a river.
9 of diamonds on the river. Aces and 9s.
Wow, interesting.
But a Broadway for E.
Yeah, Mariano now has 2 pair.
Ugh.
So E going for some more river value, $1.75. Joe's going to get out of the way. I think Mariano's going to have to pay this off. He hates it. Mariano is coming running up into it. Again, that stack size way larger, as we can see here. A good view right now. Those plums are 500 apiece, so that's about 2K already right there. 2,500, 3K. So he's got about 4K at least.
So a pretty tough river card, giving us aces up, but at the same time facing a pretty strong play from my opponent here. I'm ruling out completely that he's bluffing in this situation, so it's just a matter of, can we beat hands that he's value betting? Seems somewhat unlikely, but given the fact that we could beat Jack 10 and maybe some thin value bets from a hand like Ace King or Ace Queen, I elected on making the call, but as you guys can see, my opponent has the stone cold nuts once again.
And he hates it here. He's in the blender. Officially in the blender, live from California. Mariano, check out his channel. Makes the call. He's going to see the bad news. And
not the best start so far, but nothing to do except continue to battle. In this next one, we see an open to $40. I know it says that the player with pocket 7s 3-bet him, but he didn't. He just called. And then I look down at Ace Queen in the straddle. I raise it up to $225, and both of my opponents make the call. So 3 ways here in a re-raised pot.
Players. Ace Queen versus Ace 10 versus 7s. Jack 3-4, rainbow. 7 still in the lead. There's the ace. So now Mariano is in great shape to take down this pot.
Now that we turn top pair, it's time to bet for value. The only small concern is that my opponents could exploit the fact that I'm what you call capped, meaning I can't really have too strong of a hand, because if I had aces, jacks, or ace-jack, I would probably be betting the flop. So now that I bet the turn, the best hand I could have is ace-king, and facing a raise and then an all-in on the river would be pretty hard to hang on against. But hopefully we just get called by a worse ace and life is good.
See what happens. He'd be dead basically to a 10.
Looking to turn it around a little bit, betting 350.
Says boots is 0, so 7s must already been accounted for because.
Yeah, I don't think any more 7s remaining in the deck.
Yeah. So there's the bet from Mariano, 275. Quick call from Joe looking for a 10 ball. Pocket 7s from Boots. I don't see how he can stay in this hand. And he
will
folds.
not. He will leave. Lodge Poker Club located in Round Rock, Texas. Vice Hood, welcome.
Now we're in a spot where I think we're going to have the best hand pretty often. So I'm just going to bet $1,000 and hope to get called and not raised.
To the stream, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We stream every Wednesday and Saturday. This is a 5-5 uncapped game. The big game.
Under the lights, and Mariano is going to bet big here. $1,000. And Joe is in the blender. What will he do here, Mikey?
Tough spot here for Joe. Joe does not like to fold. He knows Mariano's an experienced player, but he's reaching for chips. He's going to make the call. So Mariano on the comeback trail.
There you go, Mariano.
A nice hand for him.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
So Mariano got up from his seat, took a little walk around, and came back and shaking his head and going, I can win a hand here on Poker Night at the Lodge. Nice hand for Mariano, our guest vlogger.
Finally, a decent-sized pot being sent my way. It's a first for the night, and let's see if we can keep some of that momentum going with pocket jacks on the button. I make it $30, and only the straddler makes the call, so heads up here to a flop.
I like to think
9-8-4.
Jack's still in the lead here on this board. Mariano in good shape. Let's see how he maneuvers this. And now Joe has connected with the 4 as well as backdoor hearts, but he's out of position, and Mariano is continuing to bet.
But he's not going anywhere.
No.
Joe will come along.
You know he's sticky like that bazooka gum on the bottom of your sneakers.
Now a flush draw for Joe.
I always hate stepping in that gum, that red, pink bazooka.
Turn card looks a little bit scary as it completes quite a few straight draws and also 2 pair combinations. So this time when he checks it to me, I'm going to exercise a little bit of pot control and see what he does on the river.
Check, check. Gets to see a free card here, but does not improve. So Mariano, maybe Joe going to try and tell the story of a 9, but if you're Mariano, you cannot fold here. Absolutely not.
He's not folding.
I mean, this would be a snap call. I don't think he's raising, so I'm surprised he hasn't called already, to be honest.
When my opponent bets here, I actually was contemplating putting in a raise and trying to get value from an 8 or maybe a non-believing 7, but I ended up just calling, and as you guys can see, probably wasn't a lot of value in raising anyway.
Unless he's thinking about a raise, which is, he'll make the call. He's going to get paid, so only 2 pair 9s and 4s for Joe, and Mariano will take it down with his jacks.
The very next shuffle actually brings us to what I think is the most interesting hand of the entire session. Once again, action folds all the way to me. This time I'm in the cutoff and I look down at 8-7 suited. I make it $30, and then the player in the small blind goes by the name of E, raises it up to 125. The big blind makes the call, and now the action's back on me. Being this deep and in position, nothing to do but make the call, so here we go. 3 ways to a flop.
I've come to know this. I'm new to this YouTube and, land.
Pocket kings for E here, right? 3-betting to 125 in the small blind. Let's see
Mariano in with 7-8 suited.
Yep, late position.
Ooh, hits his 8.
Hits his 8, backdoor diamonds. He's still in good shape here. Let's see, he's going to c-bet, pot at 385. He'll probably come about 175. Goes 130. 130 now. Let's see if Joe wants to float, but he's the man in the middle with Mariano behind him. But he's still, carving out some raising chips here. So Blue Man Group Joe going for trying to rep a stronger hand.
And this is where things get pretty interesting, I think. So E decides to continue betting around 1/3 the size of the pot. And now Joe in the big blind comes in for a raise. Obviously, we just have middle pair and I guess some backdoor draws, but not much else aside from that. But the way this hand's played out so far opens the door of possibilities for myself. And the reason I say that is this is a board where we're going to have quite a few strong holdings, including all the possible sets and top 2 pair combinations, whereas the small blind, E, shouldn't really have any of those hands given that he re-raised pre-flop. Maybe at a small frequency he might be doing that with 9s, but for the most part what I think he's going to have here are overpairs. And Joe raising in position doesn't really seem that strong to me. If he had a set himself, he would probably just call. So I feel like he's either trying to steal it away or maybe semi-bluffing with a hand like Jack 10. So, all that being said, I actually decide to flat call, just like I would with pocket 8s or pocket 9s, and then E decides to call as well. So it does look like he has an overpair, and we might have to utilize some evil plans moving forward in this hand.
2 overs. Now this will likely do it for Mariano. Middle pair backdoor diamonds, but with all this action, he cannot continue. So he'll be folding. Action will be back on E. And then we will see what will transpire. Action still on Mariano. He's not folded yet, but I don't see him continuing. But I am mistaken as he is reaching for chips as well. So he might have enough information on these players. Knows that Joe has a pretty wide range. And so my apologies, Mr. Mariano. He's not done with this hand just yet. And now the action is back on E. 865 in the chat and growing. I hope you all are enjoying this hand.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
In the blender here on the flop, how does E want to maneuver this? Does he want to re-raise and build this pot even further? Or is he potentially worried about deuces, maybe 8-9 suited, pocket 9s, pocket 8s? A little bit of a strange line here with a raise and then a flat behind. So he's going to tread lightly, make the call. Pot at 1.5, we're going to take a turn.
Queen of hearts.
So the turn card is a queen, and when E checks it, Joe actually decides to slow down and check it. Now my only concern is that E could have possibly turned a set, but overall I feel like this card is totally fine to continue representing strength. So my plan is to bet this turn card, get called by E, most likely with a hand like aces or kings, fold out Joe, and then go for a massive bluff on the river.
King's still pretty strong, but now E's slowing down. Action on Joe, who raised it up on the flop with nothing. Still has nothing on the turn, but now checks. Action on Mariano.
Well, Joe has a straight draw.
That's AKA pretty much nothing. Gutter. Multi-way here, not the best to bloat up the pot there, unless he has dreams of a monster triple barrel bluff. But action on Mariano now, and the door is open, so he's been rather quiet now, and he's got a nice reputation. He only goes for, what did you go, for 425? So about 1/3, a little milky, Rick, and now E, a little perplexed and confused here.
Yeah.
As he scratches his neck. Still has Joe to act behind him.
He ain't going nowhere. He's just thinking about raising.
Let's see. I don't know. E has folded some strong hands, and he's also made some moves sometimes with air, so he's a little bit unpredictable. Taking his time here on the turn, and he's going to lay it down. So the kings go bye-bye. As Rick is probably looking up more 8 Mile lyrics. E folded. As does Joe. So Mariano, who I thought would fold on the flop, the door wide open on the turn, takes it down 1/3 bet. Well played, Mariano.
A little surprisingly, however, E lets his pocket kings go to a single turn bet, and Joe obviously gets out of the way with ace high. So this one goes according to plan, and luckily it went our way without us having to throw out a $2,000 river bluff. This next one is a bit more straightforward, I think. The double straddle is on, and there's a few limpers before the big blind, aka Cedric, aka the Poker Traveler, makes it $150. I look down at pocket sixes in the $10 straddle, I make the call, and so do the rest of the limpers. So 5 ways here to a flop.
This is nothing new. This is expected, Rick.
Okay. I still get excited.
Gotta have some
5,
faith.
6, 9. And a Seti Maggette for Mariano. Here's his chance, folks. Set for Mariano. Top pair for Andy M. Not much else for anybody else.
Let's see if he's going to get the action he craves and desires. Reaching for chips. Starting to build a nice little stack there in the 9 seat.
He makes a big bet, 450.
Flop comes down and we see the magical 6 that we're looking for. Seeing as it's a pretty wet board, there's plenty of draws, and there's 5 people in the pot, I'm just going to play it straight up and start betting for value, trying to build this pot. Kind of unfortunate that we don't get the action we were looking for there, but still, always feels good to flop a set. This next one is a doozy for sure. There's a double straddle on once again, and action folds all the way to the hijack. A player named Boots, who was a ton of fun to play with. Shout out to you, Boots. Anyway, he raises it up to $100 with pocket 7s. Poker Traveler calls in the cutoff, and I call on the button with 9-8 of spades. We see a call from the small blind, straddle, and the second straddle. So 6 ways here to a flop. Typical Texas.
Channel, hit it yourself so we can reach out to even more viewers tonight. Triple overtime from table 11.
8-4 deuce, 2 spades. You got a spade draw for Mariano. And really, and top pair. So top pair and a spade draw from Mariano. But he doesn't bet first. It's Boots who makes 225. Quick call from the Poker Traveler with his pocket 3s.
Action checks all the way to Boots, the pre-flop raiser. He thinks his hand is still best probably, so he puts in a bet of $225. Poker Traveler makes the call, and with top pair and a flush draw, I proceed with just a flat, and the 3 of us go off to a turn card.
Going to make the call. John G will fold over to Blue Man Group Joe, who will fold, and so does Joseph. So we'll go 3 to the turn. Not Joe, thanks for subscribing. King on the turn. Still a pair of 8s is winning for Mariano and his flush draw, but the bet from Poker Traveler looks like he's going to make it 450.
This time Boots slows down and checks it, and now the Poker Traveler takes the lead in the hand. Much like my decision on the flop, I see no merit in raising, and folding is definitely out of the question, so I proceed with a call, and Boots gets out of the way. So heads up here, myself and the Poker Traveler going to a river card.
And call with the plum. Mariano, good call.
Yeah, you definitely can't go anywhere here with a pair and those spades. Hot brewing
Deuce
here.
on the river, and as long as Mariano can withstand a bet from Poker Traveler, which you know is coming.
Yeah, turning the 3s into a bluff, reaching for the yellows.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Bringing out the Starburst for the first time, $1,700. That's a $1,700 bet. And Mariano.
Likely, well, let's see.
Wow.
So the river is an offsuit deuce, and if we had the best hand all along, now that shouldn't be any different. However, it's not so easy when our opponent decides to bet $1,700. Now it's quite a decision because on one hand, it sucks that we have 2 spades. We would want him to have the spades since he could bluff with all his missed flush draws. On the other hand, though, we have an 8, which is pretty good because it has some removal to pocket 8s or maybe even ace 8 going for some thin value. Another consideration is that if my opponent had a king-high flush draw, which has now become top pair, he's certainly capable of going for value against a smaller pair, and that makes this an even closer decision than it already is. Let's see what happens.
Put in the blender a little bit here. These players no experience with each other just for the couple hours they've been playing so far tonight.
Can he find this call, Mikey? He's reaching for chips.
Yeah, looks to be. Does not look to be folding. We'll make this call. A nice call indeed.
If he could call.
Ooh, little fake out. We're officially in the blender with Mariano here. Thinking about that protein shake that he just had after the gym. Was there enough protein powder in there? Maybe a little bit of peanut butter.
This will be world class.
Two chatting to each other right now, trying to pick up a read. Poker Traveler giving Mariano nothing. Can Mariano sniff this out? A hand of the night candidate here. Poker Traveler turning his 3s into a bluff. Will it get through?
Wow. If he can find a call here, Mikey.
All 1.2 of you in the chat tuning in at a great time. I think this one's going to go. I think he's going to fold it. I think he's folding it, Rick. Let's see. Prove me wrong, Mariano. Make a great call here with your 8s. Always reaching again.
For chips again.
He
makes the call. What a call.
Very good call indeed.
Pay him.
And he might
Pay
be
that
out
man his money.
of the red, Mike, and
There we
into the
go.
black. What a call by Mariano, our guest from California.
Great hand indeed. And the Traveler knew his threes were no good there, so had to make that bet.
Wow.
And Mariano going back and forth. Do I call? Do I?
In the end, I just felt he was representing very few hands, and I also kind of thought that if he did have a king, he would go a little bit smaller for value. Could have gone either way. Glad that this time it was the correct decision. You know what hand is a lot easier to play than 9-8 though? Pocket queens, which is what we get dealt in this next hand, first to act. You guys are just going to have to take my word for it though, because even though you could see me try to scan the cards over the sensor right here, for some reason, they didn't register, so just take my word for it. I've got pocket queens. I raised it up to $30. We see a bunch of callers in the field, and now the Poker Traveler squeezes from the straddle. From what I've heard, pocket queens are a really good hand, so when the action's back to me, I'm going to go for yet another raise and try to build a big pot here in position. Everyone folds back to the Poker Traveler who makes the call, so heads up here, and we're hoping for a clean flop, which unfortunately we do not get. It's ace king 10, so when he checks it to me, I'm just going to check it back. Turn card is pretty much a brick. It's the 7 of diamonds, but pretty unlikely that either player would have a flush in this situation. River card is a brick, and this time he comes out and bets $200, and obviously it's such a good price. We have to call 200 to win just over $1,000, but we just have pretty much the absolute worst hand we would ever have in this situation. And even though it's a small size, I think he's just not going to be bluffing often enough to even make it profitable. So I end up just letting it go, and later on he told us he had ace-jack. Shortly after that hand, ladies and gentlemen, after playing for around 5 hours, we wrapped up the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed the hands.
Such a special night tonight again. Every week, more and more people tune into this chat, so don't be a stranger. Like and subscribe to this page if you enjoyed watching our show tonight. Come back next week.
Even though the stream ended at around midnight, I ended up staying like 2 or 3 hours past because the game didn't break, it just kept going, and most of the guys from the stream ended up staying as well. So even though the stream was over, the game was really good, and I decided to chug along a few more hours. And I'm glad I did, because I think I won a little bit on the stream, but I ended up winning 3,000 overall on the night. Unfortunately, most of that happened after the cameras were shut off, and it wasn't even Hold'em, actually. It was the double board PLO bomb pods that did the trick for me. The reason I'm not including them in this vlog is because I don't really know what I'm doing at all in the double board bomb pods, and I just don't think they're actually that interesting. It's just a bunch of people coolering each other from what I've seen. And that was the case for myself. I had aces versus 8-6 on 8-8-6 ace. And aces were somehow good on the other board too. So scooped a pretty big one there. And that was pretty much the story of my night. Now, I will say, I had a ton of fun, even though it didn't go extremely smoothly. Started off a little bit rough, not exactly the way I had envisioned it in my mind, but that's quite all right. Made a little bit of a comeback, and like I said, ended up having a great time overall. Definitely looking forward to being on streams more often in the future. The totals for the trip are as follows right here. Ended up playing 3 sessions, and overall, booking a net profit, can't complain. What's coming up next is maybe 1 or 2 vlogs from LA before heading out to Cleveland and Detroit at the end of this month. I'm gonna be playing at Jack Casino for a couple of nights, and then 2 nights after that, I'll be at MGM in Detroit. So you guys have that to look forward to, and for all you locals, come get some of my chips. You're more than welcome. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. All right, I got a flight to catch, so I'll see you all next time. Until then, good luck at the tables. Peace.